This is a KRON 4 News special presentation, In the Spotlight, with Pam Moore.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me for a special presentation of In the Spotlight. I'm Pam Moore. He was once one of the most watched faces in Bay Area news. People in the Bay Area relied on him to know what was happening in their communities and the world. Frank Somerville has not been on television for some time now as he continues to fight an ongoing battle with addiction. Somerville sat down with me earlier this year, opening up about his struggles with prescription drugs and alcohol and the DUI crash that led to his arrest in December of 2021. Here is a look back at some of our conversation then, first shared with you in March. December 30th, 2021, downtown Oakland. Bay Area news anchor Frank Somerville slams his Porsche into another vehicle while driving under the influence.
It was Christmas time. I was away from my family. Didn't see them at all over the holidays. And it was just a really sad time. And so I got trashed. There's no other way to say it. I got trashed in my apartment. And I wanted to go to Taco Bell, which is 2.5 blocks from where I live. And I made the idiotic decision to drive.
Longtime Bay Area TV news anchor Frank Somerville is facing DUI charges.
The news anchor now becomes the news story. His blood alcohol level 3 times the legal limit. He is arrested and spends the night in jail. Frank, you could have killed someone.
You're damn right I could have. And I think every day about that. Yeah, I could have. And that scares the hell out of me.
Born and raised in Berkeley, Somerville's story was the hometown kid makes good. After working in 3 smaller news markets, he landed the morning anchor spot at Channel 2 and later the prime evening anchor chair. What happened?
Well, I spent a lot of time covering stories on my own time. I went to 7 funerals for young black men and women on my own time. I went to the viewings for 2 police officers who were killed on my own time. I remember at a makeshift memorial for one of the people who was killed, I went up and held the mother, and I asked her how she was doing, and she said, "I don't know how I'm going to go on." And right then, her knees buckled, and I was the only thing holding her up. And if you've ever felt someone's knees buckle, it's just gut wrenching. And those were the kind of things that I saw, and I just couldn't get them out of my mind.
Somerville says those experiences began to add up, taking a toll on his mental health. He says around 2019, he turned to prescription drugs and alcohol to cope.
I never asked for help. And the reason I didn't ask for help was because main anchors don't ask for help. It would be, I'd look weak. In my mind, I would look weak. And so the last thing I was going to do was go to HR and say, I have a problem. So I dealt with the problem on my own. And I dealt with the problem on my own by using prescription drugs and drinking.
By the spring of 2021, things were beginning to unravel publicly.
You can only hide things for so long. And when they keep getting worse, again, you can only hide it for so long. And then all of a sudden, everything explodes. And so I would say 2021 was the year that everything exploded.
Somerville admits he was sent home after slurring on the air during a newscast, and drugs were involved. Were you using them at work?
No, I didn't use the drugs. I did, yes, but the alcohol, no. The time when I slurred on camera was actually, it's been reported that I was drinking. I actually wasn't. What I was taking what I thought was one of my prescription drugs, and instead I took 2 Ambien, and these were high-powered Ambien. And when you take 2 of those, you're almost comatose.
How much were you drinking and taking drugs together? How often?
It would be at night when I'd come home. And at the absolute worst, it would have been almost every night. What I was trying to do, Pam, quite honestly, was just escape.
Somerville says he attended rehab before returning to work in August.
What's your guys' names?
Gabby. Brian.
Gabby, Brian, okay.
In September, as news of missing influencer Gabby Petito swept the nation, Somerville once again found himself thrust into the national spotlight.
I thought the coverage across the country of Gabby Petito was insane. And there was no reason for it other than the fact that she's a cute white kid.
According to the Mercury News and the Chronicle, the station had declined Somerville's request to add a brief commentary following the Petito story about the disparities in media coverage of missing women of color. According to the reports, a version still made it into a later newscast script. Somerville was suspended. It was at this time, he says, the station decided not to renew his contract. Are you addicted to alcohol and prescription drugs?
Well, no, I don't take any more prescription drugs at all, except to help me sleep.
Addicted to alcohol?
With alcohol, that's a very interesting question. Yeah, I'm not prepared right now to say I will never, but I can say that I don't know. It's still a work in progress. I sure as heck, I have no desire to drink.
Well, shortly after that interview, Somerville was arrested again for alcohol-related charges in Berkeley in June. I caught up with him 6 months later, and he admitted that when we talked the first time, he was not completely honest about his drinking problems.
I think back then, I knew in my heart, but I just didn't want to admit it. And I think, too, that I didn't want to admit it because I was afraid. I was afraid that there was nothing I could do about it, that I had given up. And I just thought I felt powerless.
He says everything changed on June the 6th, the day he calls his own personal D-Day. That's when Somerville says he decided to fully admit to his problems both on the inside and the outside. He now just marked 6 months of being sober.
I don't have a backpack weighing me down anymore. I don't have 2 hands tied behind my back anymore. I don't have the monkey on my back anymore.
What was the monkey on your back? What was the lie that you are no longer living?
That I drink alcohol. But it goes way beyond that. It deals with things like my relationship with my family. It deals with childhood trauma. It deals with being afraid to be vulnerable. It deals with my sadness over my birthday, my sadness over holidays. It deals with not being present. It deals with how I hurt my ex-wife and my kids because of my selfish behavior. That's the hardest one. That's the big one. And
you were doing that because you were drinking?
Yeah, well, I did it because I was drinking, and I did it because I was a selfish prick, to be blunt. And I'm not that way anymore.
Frank Somerville is thanking members of his Alcoholics Anonymous group for their support, as well as his fans who still support him too. And we, of course, wish him well. If you or someone you love needs support with addiction, there is a national hotline you can call for help. The number is on the bottom of your screen, 1-800-662-HELP or 4357. A father records his conversation with his daughter every year on her birthday, how he is now sharing those years of memories with the world. And for the first time in decades, the historic Glide Memorial Church officially has a new leader. Up next, I introduce you to Dr. Gina Frommer.
In the Spotlight with Pam Moore.
The Glide Memorial Church Foundation is celebrating 60 years serving San Francisco's Tenderloin neighborhood with free holiday dinners, gifts, and so much more. And now a major leadership transition is taking place there. Reverend Cecil Williams is officially passing the baton to Dr. Gina Frommer.
Honestly, it feels like I stepped into a place that's been waiting for me for a long time.
Passionate, down to earth, and determined, Dr. Gina Frommer is a sixth-generation San Franciscan raised in Bayview Hunters Point. She led a number of nonprofits in the city before coming to Glide.
So this is Cecil's office. Look at the amazing history that's represented here.
She is well aware of the rich legacy laid down before her by the decades of leadership from Reverend Cecil Williams and his late wife, Jan Mirkatani. After more than 700 applicants for the job, there was Gina.
Cecil and Jan being the first 60 years, and we now need to kick off the second 60 years. A breathtaking strategy, and we needed a breathtaking CEO. And then Gina shows up.
A packed audience turned out for Glide's annual Holiday Jam. It was a fundraiser, but also a moment to honor 94-year-old Cecil Williams.
What I want for Glide, for keeping on and moving forward and making things happen, is for us to never forget where we came from, and that is to be the roots of the community.
Reverend Williams interviewed and approved of Gina, who was officially introduced to supporters at the event.
It's the pinnacle for Glide. For him to hand this off to someone like Gina, she's gonna knock it out of the park.
In addition to her job experience, Gina brings something else to Glide. Many years ago, as a young mother trying to make ends meet, she turned to Glide for help.
As a young mother, I got on a bus from Bayview, caught probably four buses. We had a special Thanksgiving. So I came back again the following year. That's what Glide was for me. It was a safety net for me and my family when I needed it the most. I'm just one generation out of poverty, Pam. I want every family to know that they can come and get that safety net in that moment that you need it. Because I didn't need it. 3 years after that, I was working and I was going to school, and I didn't feel like I didn't need it, but another family took my spot.
Hi, Mama. Hello. Absolutely. Here, take
Now,
one.
Gina is busy learning about her new job, her clients, and everything she can about this historic church.
While Glide for the last 60 years has focused pretty much exclusively on the Tenderloin, the pandemic has increased the number of food insecure and homeless people in San Francisco, and they can now be found across the entire city.
The Glide Forward strategy is an ambitious one. San Francisco, and particularly the Tenderloin neighborhood, present huge challenges. Glide's $32 million budget will be put to the test. The new plans call for expanding services beyond the Tenderloin, more health services, mobile clinics, additional kitchen locations, extended family services, outreach, and more. What will always remain at the heart of Glide, from Cecil and Jan, and now to Gina, inclusivity, social justice, and love.
What I want to change is the world for those kids, that they don't have to grow up in poverty. And my ultimate goal is to break the pipeline to poverty. You grow up in a Tenderloin, you think that, or Bayview, Hunters Point, you think this is your life, you can change it in one generation. And if we invest in those kids and make sure that they have what they need, yes. And Glide is going to be a place for that.
Best wishes to Gina and to Reverend Cecil Williams. Well, a Bay Area filmmaker added another Oscar nomination to his resume earlier this year. Jay Rosenblatt recorded his daughter, Ella, every year on her birthday, starting at age 2. The result, a documentary titled, How Do You Measure a Year? It is a father-daughter story that spans more than 16 years.
Every year, me and Dad film together.
Oh, yes, for your birthday.
This is Ella Rosenblatt getting ready for one of her annual birthday interviews with her filmmaker father.
Really nice. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's my birthday. Hi.
Filmmaker filmmaking has been Jay Rosenblatt's life for 40 plus years. Studying, teaching, creating films, most, he says, personal in some way. And Ella has been the subject of several. But how do you measure a year is the project that has taken the longest as he tracked his daughter's childhood evolution.
I love that one.
What is power?
I don't know.
What do you think it means? What does power mean?
Power means, I don't know. Feel my muscles. See, they're big.
From the adorable age of 2 through sometimes challenging teen years, up until Ella was ready to head off to college, asking similar questions, seeing his daughter react differently each year to his efforts. And he never looked at the 16 hours of video until Ella was 20.
At the very least, I thought it would be an archive for her, that she'd have a tape of her each birthday. When COVID hit, I had some extra time on my hands, and I thought I should look at that footage and see if there's a film there.
Hello, Ella.
Now 22 and living in New York, we talked with Ella about the film and her dad, the bright moments during those years of interviews and those not so bright.
Kind of an opportunity to have a more formal check-in with each other that you don't usually do day to day.
The checking in meant a lot to me. It showed that she had some sort of trust in me, and that made me feel good. There were some rough years where she was like sullen, withdrawn, didn't want to participate. Luckily, I just kept filming and just filmed that. Let's talk about you and me for a second.
Those awkward teenage years, they were definitely really hard for me in the moment to watch, and still sometimes I have to skip over the middle years. In terms of the movie as a whole, I really think they help it feel authentic, and I think it's an awkwardness that a lot of people can connect to. So for that reason, I'm still glad they're in there.
Jay has more than 30 independent films to his credit, 2 Oscar nominations and showings at Sundance and more. And his day job also involves storytelling here at the Jewish Film Institute.
Won the Audience Awards. That's something our audience really cares about, and it's the kind of thing that we're engaging
in terms of my job at JFI, Jewish Film Institute, I'm constantly looking at other people's stories. And storytelling is essential to humans. That's how we deal with our own growth. We're always telling ourselves our own stories, and that creates our memories.
And creating memories is what he did for his own family.
In the moment, I'm definitely glad looking back that we were able to do it every year. Just been affirming on the back end, hearing people just remind me how special our relationship is.
It's a relationship that is so universal and so central, that of a parent and a child, in this case a father and a daughter. I want you to ask another question, okay?
No.
How Do You Measure a Year is available on HBO Max.
You don't need to speak the same language. You don't need to have come from the same places.
And that means you can play it too. Up next, we will take you to a place in San Francisco that is sharing chess with anybody and everybody.
In the Spotlight with Pam Moore.
The game of chess is played all around the world, but the people who play it are not necessarily as diverse a group as you might think. Well, the oldest continuously running chess club in the United States is trying to change that. The Mechanics Institute, located in downtown San Francisco. These might be the types of pictures that come to mind when you think of the game of chess. But this is the fresh picture the Mechanics Institute wants you to see. This spring, some 300 children of all ages and backgrounds from all corners of the Bay Area showed up to compete in the Institute's Scholarship Chess Tournament. And some of those same young people are part of the Institute's Chess School Outreach.
Threatening what? Threatening checkmate, right.
22 weekly classes in 16 private and public schools in San Francisco. In low-income communities, classes are free, all aimed at sparking new interest in the age-old game. Alyssa Stone is in charge of community engagement.
For me, it's not about the game itself. It's about the skills that go with the game. So things like patience, learning how to win and lose graciously, understanding strategy, being able to talk and analyze your game. That's stuff that we're doing with kids even from a really early age.
We never had the love of chess. We pulled out all the games at the height of the pandemic and kind of just saw what stuck.
This is Lisa Wanchenko's 7-year-old son, Wesley.
We tried it first and I didn't really like it, but once I got older, I caught on more.
Once you got older, you mean to age 7?
To 6, I think, 6 or 5.
Danny Cow is a Mechanics Institute chess instructor.
When I was a kid growing up, I played basketball, and it took me years to be able to beat my mom's boyfriend at basketball. Chess is one of the ways that a child can, like language, learn very quickly and measure themselves up to an adult very quickly.
The hope is that one day all of the young kids in the school programs will wind up here at the historic Mechanics Institute, where they have weekly chess tournaments. And especially on a night like tonight, this is Blitz night. Blitz is fast chess. Each player has 3 minutes on the clock. One round is 6 minutes. Classical or slow chess can last hours.
Chess is a universal game. You don't need to speak the same language. You don't need to have come from the same places. Everybody has the same rules and knows how to play chess together.
That's why Mechanics Institute believes that chess is an easy sell when it comes to its efforts to diversify the people who play the game. And as you look around the room, you can see there is a ways to go.
We're trying really hard to make sure that women and girls and people who are not often seen in the game of chess have a place here.
And that does it for this special presentation of In the Spotlight. My special thanks to the staff and to producer Kelly Kim. And I hope the stories that we shared here inspire you to make a difference in your community. Thank you, everybody. Good night.